Could you expand a bit on that toolbox, even if we are still at the beginning of the creation of that tool? So that's the first question, and then I will give you more questions that are currently on the chat. On the toolbox, I think it's a bit premature because I haven't had time to really work on it. It would be trying to find a common definition, because the definition of agroecology, I think it's quite elastic, you know, it's changing quite a lot, or can be elastic, I think. So it would be based on the GLISMILE scale, the 10 elements and the 13 principles. But the idea would be to be able to qualify and to quantify the implication into agroecology of one of a project on the quantitative level, but also in the qualitative level, i.e. social impacts. So we need both in kind of indicators to be able to really evaluate the impact. I can't really say much more at that stage because I've not worked much more on that toolbox. Okay, good. Maybe we'll have suggestion in the chat. In terms of question, I also have Guy, who is asking whether you've met projects that were doing agroecology without knowing it, without using the terminology. We have Josephine that is also mentioning that the target groups are small producers, and maybe it's complicated for them to put activities in place as you know, us EU as donators. Virginie is saying that we are still at the pilot level, and that the term agroecology is not very well understood by the ministries and governments, and that there is work that needs to be done at that level. And then one last question from Claudia, who is at the headquarters with us. She would like to understand a bit better the review of projects, and maybe that we're doing agroecology without knowing. Well, doing agroecology without being conscious of it, yeah, that's why we put a second filter, you know. That's what the second filter was here for. That was for me a second level of analysis, which means that firstly, I just analyzed the projects that were clearly showing that they were agroecological, because you know, sometimes some projects pretend to be agroecological, but at the end of the day they are not really. So it's only by going further and looking further into those indicators that you can really see how deep they are in the agroecological process. But I've also noticed some projects that were not mentioning it, but were agroecological. I've noticed some of them, but and they will be analyzed as well, yes. And then in terms of the EU and, you know, discussion regarding small producers, what I wanted to showcase was that we have projects that are not within the SANAD framework and that are financed differently and can fit within agroecology with another entry door, you know, not the agro-food industry, or you know, but more from the question of land or the question of human rights. And by creating a link between all those programs, we could contribute more to try and answer some issues. I don't know whether I answered fine, or if you've got comments or anything. Christophe is asking, 6% of the contracts are the ones that are issued from the first filter only. No, The 6% of contracts is all the contracts that have been analyzed. On the 948 contracts that we planned on analyzing, it means that 6% of those 948 contracts are mentioning the term agroecology.